It is the hottest part of the day. Not warm, hot. The kind of heat that makes the air above the ground go liquid and strange, that turns even shade into something you have to push through. Abraham is 99 years old, sitting at the entrance to his tent in the oak grove of Mamre, which is the ancient equivalent of a porch, which he is doing with what any sensible person does at noon in that type of climate, in this type of climate, as close to nothing as possible. And then he looks up, and there are three men standing there suddenly. No explanation of where they came from. He looked down, he looks up, there they are. No warning, just three men in the heat at the edge of his camp. He doesn't know who they are. He has no reason to think they're anyone in particular, but something moves in him anyway. And what happens next is the most Abraham thing in the whole Abraham story. He runs. I'm 41 years old. I don't know if I could run like that, let alone at 99. A 99-year-old man in that heat runs across the camp, bows to the ground and says, "Please don't pass me by. Rest under this tree. Let me bring a little water. Let me get a little bread so you can refresh before you go on." A little bread. Now, if Abraham were from Alabama like I am, or from Virginia, we know exactly what a little bread means, right? It means the good china is already coming down from the cabinet. It means someone is killing the fatted calf, literally. It means you are going to be here for 3 hours minimum. And you will be leaving with a good Cool Whip containers chocked to the brim. A little bread is what a Southern host says when what they mean is, I'm about to demonstrate love through quantity. Don't argue with me, sit down. What Abraham actually prepares is 40 cups of fine flour made into cakes, a choice calf from the herd, yogurt, and milk. Theologian Klaus Westermann notes, these are the proportions of a sacrificial feast. What you bring to the altar, the best you have, in amounts that signal something beyond ordinary generosity. So the word little isn't describing the food, it's describing something in Abraham, the disposition of someone who genuinely cannot imagine that what he's offering is the remarkable part of this exchange. And what I think is interesting is the sequence of all this. He runs towards the strangers, he gives everything. And then the recognition comes. The revelation doesn't produce the generosity. The generosity is already fully underway before there's any revelation to respond to. He doesn't wait to find out if they're worth it. He's already in the tent finding Sarah by the time that question would have occurred to a more cautious person. Now keep that somewhere in your mind. Let's go to a dusty road now in Galilee. Jesus has been moving through towns and villages, teaching and proclaiming and healing. Matthew says he looked at the crowds and something happened in his gut before his mind had organized a response. The Greek word is splanchnizomai, rolls right off the tongue, right? It's physical. It's that whenever you read about that gut punch, that something happens that just makes you bend over, takes your breath away. It's happening in the body first. Jesus sees people harassed and helpless, scattered like sheep with no shepherd. And before he acts, he prays. He asks God to send laborers into the harvest, names who the harvest belongs to, and then answers the prayer himself by sending 12 people who have no idea what they're doing into towns they've never been to with nothing. He gives them real authority, actual capacity to heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse lepers, cast out demons. And then, take no gold, no silver, no copper, no bag, no extra tunic, no sandals, no staff. Go with empty hands. The empty hands aren't just a statement about the kingdom. They're the only way the disciples can actually get inside a community. You can't receive hospitality if you don't need anything. Show up with all your resources and institutional weight, and people will treat you accordingly, politely, maybe at arm's length. Looks like you got everything covered. You don't need me. Show up needing a meal and a place to sleep, and something different becomes possible. The worthy house, as Jesus calls it, opens its door to someone who actually needs what's behind it. This is why the instruction that follows matters. Stay in one house, don't move from house to house. In the ancient world, working your way toward more comfortable accommodations as better options appeared was a recognized social maneuver, sort of equivalent to, well, who all's going to be over there? Well, maybe I'll wait and see if something better comes along towards the end of the week. Maybe then I'll come over. Jesus forbids it. You stay where you land. You commit to the household that first opened its doors to you. The sent life is shaped by the community it enters into, not arranged for the comfort of the one being sent. You received without payment, give without payment. The disciples didn't generate their authority. Jesus put it in their hands without audition, without evidence. They were ready. You see, you can't hold and reserve what you never earned. The only response to a freely given gift is to give it back freely. That's not a moral lesson so much as a description of how this particular thing works. The list of 12 includes Matthew, the tax collector, and Simon the zealot. Matthew worked for Rome. Simon spent his life in opposition to it. In any other gathering, they are on opposite sides of a very serious conflict. Here they share the same word, apostoloi, which is only mentioned once in Matthew's gospel, and it is here. Apostoloi, sent ones. And the same empty hands and presumably the same road out of town, they are walking together. Now let's rejoin our visitors as they're eating. Abraham stands nearby, not hovering, just present the way a good host is present, available without being intrusive. He called himself their servant when he invited them, and he is still acting the part. And then one of the visitors asks, "Where's Sarah?" "Inside the tent," Abraham says. And then the response, "By this time next year, she'll have a son." Now, Sarah's inside the tent. She's 90 years old. She has not been naive about the arithmetic for a long time. She hears the promise through the canvas, and she laughs quietly to herself. That involuntary laugh of someone who knows exactly what is and isn't possible, right? The response to this laugh is anything too wonderful for the Lord. The Hebrew word is yipale, beyond the reach of ordinary causes and effects, past what the usual mechanisms of the world can produce. But the question isn't philosophical, it's not rhetorical, it's addressed to Sarah, this woman, this age, this tent, this afternoon, in the specific context of what her body has and hasn't been able to do. The child will be called Isaac, Yitzhak, in Hebrew, laughter. God doesn't erase the laugh that bubbled up from Sarah's lips. God names the child after it. The laugh becomes the promise's address, the precise location where the impossible lands. Sarah's honest assessment of the situation is not overcome by the miracle, it is folded into it. Her doubt is not corrected, it is redeemed. And Westerman traces what follows from that laugh. Without Isaac, there is no Jacob, no 12 tribes, no Exodus, no Sinai, no covenant, no Psalms, no prophets, and the gospel doesn't exist in the form we have it. What God was doing through the wall of that tent was immense beyond reckoning. And it arrived in the middle of Abraham's feast, in the middle of a 99-year-old man running across camp in the midday heat because 3 strangers needed something to eat. The feast he called a little bread. The disciples go out and they come back. Chapter 10 is the commission, not the ending. There are stories they return with about what happened when they trusted the people they were sent to. They needed those communities as much as those communities needed them. That's not a side note, that's the whole shape of the thing. The kingdom of heaven arrives in the exchange between the one who comes with empty hands and the household that opens its doors. Abraham didn't know what was coming when he ran towards those three men. He couldn't have. The recognition came later in the middle of the meal through the wall of a tent to a woman who laughed because she knew the numbers. He ran first. He gave everything first. He called it nothing much. The Lord of the harvest is still sending people out with empty hands. The worthy houses are still deciding whether to open the door. And nothing is too wonderful for the Lord. Amen.